I wanted to discuss researching music and how implementing research into your daily schedule can really help you from getting stuck and to make sure that you're always having continuous growth. I have this book here, the Charlie Parker Complete Scores, and this could be any book. This could be a book from Bon Jovi or whoever, whatever music you're into, the Beatles, anything, right? I'm just really into Charlie Parker right now, and I bought this book, and it's a complete score of all the instruments in the band. So they're transcribed from the recordings. And here's Billy's Balance, right? And one thing I do is I go through, and you could see I guess you would say I'm somewhat destructive with my books. I don't think it's destructive. I think this is really getting the most out of a book. I buy these so I could research and I can really understand what was going on in the performances and to form out ideas for me to use or to further elaborate on. The first thing I do is I listen to the song while reading the score. And then I want to find moments in there that make my ears interested or perk up, and I usually put like these brackets with a highlighter around bars that made my ears perk up. And then after the first listen, I'm going to go back and listen again, and I'm going to really start to find out what's going on in each of these sections that I put brackets around. But more than that, I'm going to analyze the whole piece, and I get right in here and I put all kind of information on top, a lot about what modes or scales are being used over a chord. I like to put in a lot of information about the bass lines and what intervals they're playing from the chord and how they're moving, if there's anything interesting. I usually use a lot of highlighter if there's a section that really stuck out to me, or sometimes a note. So I'm really trying to find things that maybe are more out of the norm, right, to highlight and talk about. And you'll see a lot on this page. One thing I also do is at the bottom of pages, I like to do a review often of whatever's on a page or the 2 pages that I studied. I tend to do 2 pages a day and I move on. I also work out right now with a Beethoven Sonata book, which I'm also analyzing and getting deep into, and I apply the same techniques to that. But on the bottom of the page, I read a lot of the big picture stuff that really stood out to me. And then after I'm done with this, I will take this information and some of these moments that are highlighted or bracketed, I will transcribe them into Dorico, and then I'll create a Word document, and I like to put in this information. I do this so I could share the information with my college students, but I also do it as a reference for me, and just to have a library of the elements I thought were interesting. If I feel like I'm getting stuck or cycling at some point, I can always open the Word document and find something I thought was interesting, made my ears perk up, and start trying to incorporate that into my playing as a way to break the cycle of repetition or burnout that I'm in. So I'm a big fan of this. I do this like pretty much first thing in the morning, right? And go through the bass line, and look at the chord progression, and look at the melodic movement, and observe the horizontal connections that are happening, and just make a lot of notes. I'm a big proponent of this because for me, I tend to also remember music from visualization, right? I don't just remember it orally. Orally is important. Obviously, it's music, but the visualization also really helps me remember it. Some people say that if they transcribe music, they never fully can memorize it because they'll lean on the transcriptions or the sheet music. But that's not the case with me. I always am able to remember it better if I make a score for it or if I read a score. The visualization helps connect with the aural memory, and it bonds it stronger in my memory. So you have to figure out how your brain operates, and if you're better with connecting visual and audio, or if you just prefer audio. There's not a right or wrong, it's just figuring out how you operate so you could work to its advantage, right? My advantage is I do remember the visualizations along with the aural. So reading charts, making charts are an important aspect of music for me, and so reading music tends to be important, even though I have poor eyesight, and it's harder for me to read. Still in my mind, I see it in my mind's eye often when I'm performing music. So I would encourage you to get some books. It's not a race. Take your time with it. The key here is to take some time to make sure that you're taking in as much information as you can. And there's some elements, and depending on the type of music you're learning, that you may want to spend like a lot of time. I mean, you could spend a half an hour decoding this line and playing it and trying to transpose it to different key signatures, and then trying to invert it, and or put it in retrograde, right? And there's so many different things. Inversion, retrograde, like there's a lot of things you can do with one measure phrase to be able to get all the nutrients out of it, right? So take your time. Don't think of it as being a rush. I tend to just do 2 pages a day because that's, I don't know, it's a good, I don't want to do 4 pages because it's also too much information. And if there's too many new ideas introduced, it just isn't going to sink in. So it's just TMI. So I do try to limit it to 2 pages of each genre. So this is bebop. If I do it with Beethoven, I would limit myself to 2 pages. If I do it with the Beatles, I also have the Beatles Complete Book, which is pretty small print, but it also can do this with it. I often have to use a magnifier because it's so small on that. It's one thing I like about this particular book, with the Charlie Parker book, is that the font and the print is a very nice size. So I encourage you to try it. If you have any questions about my process with this, feel free to reach out at anatomyoftone.com. I'm always happy to discuss music theory and learning and tone and anything music related.